This is Presentation 8 of the 2013 ELA Assessment Scoring Series. In this presentation, we're going to examine the Grade 3 4-point rubric guide set. You're going to need a copy of the 4-point Grade 3 rubric and the guide set. If you need copies of those, you can find them at e2ela.wikispaces.com/scoring. In the guide papers, you're going to find a passage entitled The Poplar Tree by Flora Cook. Please pause this presentation and read the piece carefully. The students had to answer this question. Why do the poplar trees grow the way they do? Explain why the tree decides to grow them this way. How do the actions of the old man, Iris, Zeus, and Mercury lead to his decision? Use details from the story to support your answer. The student wrote, poplar trees grow their branches straight up in the air. The poplar trees did not always grow this way. They used to spread their branches out like all the other trees. But after what happened to the poplar tree a long time ago, they grew with their branches straight up to prove that they are honest and have nothing to hide. A long time ago, an old man stole a pot of gold from the maiden Iris. It was the pot of gold she always kept at the end of her rainbow bridge to earth. The man was walking in a forest and needed a place to hide the gold. He saw a poplar tree and hid the gold in its branches. He thought it would be a good place because the branches were straight out and the leaves were big. He didn't think anybody would find the gold there. Iris was sad when her gold was gone, and she told her father Zeus about it. Zeus sent Mercury, who was very fast, to go find the gold. Mercury asked all the trees in the forest to hold up their branches so he could see if they had the gold. When the gold fell out of the poplar tree, the tree was surprised and decided to always hold its branches up to prove it is honest. The poplar tree never would have changed how it grows its branches if the other characters had not done what they did. If the old man had not taken the gold and put it in the poplar branches, Iris would not have been sad. Zeus would not have sent Mercury to the forest to look for the gold. The honest poplar tree would have kept its branches growing out like all the other trees and not up to prove that it is honest. This response was scored as a 4. The response clearly introduces the topic in a manner that follows logically from the task. If you take a look at your rubric, that matches the very first point in the very first column, and that's probably a good way to look at these. Right now, looking at content and analysis, the topic is clearly introduced when the student says, but after what happened to their poplar tree a long time ago, they grow with their branches straight up in the air to prove that they are honest and have nothing to hide. Also, the response demonstrates comprehension and analysis of the text. The poplar tree would never have changed how it grows its branches if other characters had not done what they did. So again, if you look at the rubric at level 4 says it clearly introduces a topic in a manner that follows logically from the task and purpose, and the student demonstrates comprehension and analysis of the text. The next element on the rubric is the command of evidence, and the topic is developed with relevant, well-chosen details throughout the essay. The student wrote that the branches were straight out and the leaves were big, and it also said that Iris was sad when her gold was gone and she told her father Zeus about it. If we take a look at the coherence, organization, and style section, the student did group the information together. Mercury asked all the trees in the forest to hold up their branches so he could see if they had the gold. When the gold fell out of the poplar tree, the tree was surprised and decided to always hold up its branches to prove it's honest. So that clearly lines up with a level 4. And also the ideas are skillfully connected using linking words. The student said, but after, a long time ago, when and if. So the student is clearly connecting those ideas skillfully. Finally, the response provides a concluding statement that follows clearly from the topic. That's also an element of organization that the student did a very good job on. The response also demonstrates great appropriate command of the conventions with very few errors. No trouble reading this. So this particular essay was really a 4 in almost every element. It's not necessary for them to hit every single element in a 4 to remain a 4, but in this case it's an excellent essay and the student did that. Now let's take a look at guide paper 2. In it, the student wrote, "The poplar branches grow the way they do because one day an old man came to the poplar tree forest because he had stole the pot of gold that sits at the end of a rainbow from a girl named Iris. The old man wanted to hide the pot of gold somewhere nobody could find it. He hid it when it was dark. He went to the poplar tree, and while they were sleeping, he hid it in their branches, but they never knew. So Iris told her father it was gone, and he sent a messenger to find it. The messenger was swift, and he went to the poplar tree forest to find the pot of gold for Iris. He asked the trees to put their branches up, and they did. The most honest tree was the one that had the pot of gold. The tree apologized and said, 'From now on, I will grow my branches straight up instead of down.' That is why they grow their branches up instead of down." This paper was scored as a 4. The response clearly introduces a topic in a manner that follows logically from the task and the purpose. The student wrote that the poplar branches grow the way they do because one day an old man came to the poplar tree forest because he had stole the pot of gold. Also, the response demonstrates comprehension and analysis of text. The most honest tree was the one that had the pot of gold. The student, in this case, both of those elements of content and analysis are in the level 4 box. When we're looking at the student's use of evidence, the topic is well developed with relevant, well-chosen details throughout the essay. He hid it when it was dark. He went to the poplar tree when they were sleeping, and he hid it in their branches. And the related information was consistently grouped together. Iris told her father that it was gone, and he sent a messenger to find it. The messenger was swift, and he went to the poplar tree forest to find the pot of gold. So that organization and command of evidence is pretty clear. Those elements both also fit in a level 4. The student skillfully connected the ideas with linking words. The student used so, and he went, that is why. And the student provided a concluding statement that follows clearly from the topic. The student wrote, "That is why they grow their branches up instead of down." Finally, the response demonstrates great appropriate command of conventions with occasional errors. One thing that's important to notice is the paragraphing in the paper. There is none. Doesn't matter, the paper is still well organized, and the fact that there are no indents or obvious paragraph breaks doesn't mean that it can't still be scored at a level 4, and that's how the paper was scored. Now we're going to take a look at a level 3 paper. This is the first guide paper for level 3. It's guide paper 3. The student wrote, "The poplar branches grow the way they do because long ago the poplar tree wanted to spread out its branches like the other trees. The old man pulled out the pot of gold, and the poplar tree's branches spread out straight. The pot of gold belonged to Iris, and Mercury set out to find the lost treasure. Mercury asked all the trees if they had the pot of gold, and the trees said no. They held out their branches to show Mercury that they didn't have the pot of gold. The honest tree, the poplar, had the pot and didn't know about it because when the old man put the pot in the poplar tree was asleep. The poplar tree always holds its branches straight up so people can see nothing is hidden. Since the branches go straight up, everyone knows the poplar trees are always honest." This paper was scored as a 3. The response clearly introduces a topic in a manner that follows from the task and the purpose. The student wrote, "The poplar branches grow the way they do because long ago." And also the response demonstrates great appropriate comprehension of the text. The student wrote that the poplar tree always holds its branches straight up so that people can see nothing is hidden. Those elements are both level 3 on the rubric. If we take a look at the command of evidence section, the topic is developed with relevant facts throughout the essay. The student wrote that the pot of gold belonged to Iris, and Mercury set out to find the lost treasure. Mercury asked all the trees if they had the pot of gold, and the trees said no. So by clearly developing the topic with relevant facts, that would be scored as a 3. In the next section, for organization, the related information was generally grouped together and connected using linking words and phrases, and the response provided a concluding statement that clearly followed from the topic. So the student's organization was in the 3 to 4 range. Finally, the conventions, the student demonstrated great appropriate command of the conventions with occasional errors. put an apostrophe in its, and he spelled treasure wrong, but that really doesn't get in the way of understanding the meaning of the student's writing. So as you look holistically at the scoring, most of the elements were at a level 3, and that's what the piece is scored. Guide paper 4. The branches grow that way because the poplar tree didn't want to hide anything. The actions of the old man, Iris, Zeus, and Mercury lead to his decision from the poplar tree. The poplar tree branches also grow like that because the old man put the gold in the tree, and then Mercury told the trees to put their branches up. The poplar tree put its branches up, and Mercury saw the gold. So the tree decided to leave the branches up so that people can see it's not hiding anything. The actions of the old man, Iris, Zeus, and Mercury also lead to his decision from how most of them all work together to find the pot of gold for Iris, because Iris is the owner of the pot of gold. Guide paper 4 was scored as a 3. The response clearly introduces the topic. That's an element of the 3. The student said the branches grow that way because the poplar tree didn't want to hide anything. And at the same time, the student is demonstrating great appropriate comprehension of the text. The student said the old man, Iris, Zeus, and Mercury also led to his decision from how most of them all worked together to find the pot of gold for Iris. So those are both at a level 3. In terms of evidence, the topic is developed with relevant facts throughout the essay. The student said the old man put the gold in the tree, and then Mercury told the trees to put their branches up. And the poplar tree put its branches up, and Mercury sold the gold. Organization. Related information is generally grouped together and connected using linking words and phrases. The student said and then, so the tree, because. And if you take a look at that, the student is at a level 3 in terms of organization. The student demonstrated emerging command of the conventions. The student was a little bit weaker in the conventions. There were a number of misspellings, misplaced apostrophes, and so on. If you really were look critically, that would probably be at the 2 level. But because most of the work, looking paper as a whole, most of it ends up being a 3, that's how the paper is scored.